You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, where we will be discussing England's T20 tour of the West Indies. A reminder that I'm Jack and I'm joined by Max. Max, how are you? Do you like T20 cricket?
Hello, yes, I love T20 cricket. Smash, bang, wallop.
Smash, bang, wallop. We'll be talking about that. Final reminder, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at the Cricket Pod, on Patreon. 29 Patreons still. We didn't add a single Patreon last week. I'm very sad. Best time to do it, though, because our first ever Patreon exclusive show is out this week. Patreon.com/the Cricket Pod. And like, subscribe, follow, click the thumbs up, click it. If you see a bell, click the bell. All of that business. So on last week's show, we talked about the first two T20s, Max. So we'll be talking about the second three and summarising what happened over there in the Caribbean. In the final three matches, we were treated to a feast of smashing. That's what I've written here. I don't really know what a feast of smashing is. Maybe I could have used better words to describe it. But I also think that sort of kind of conveys the raw brutality of what we saw. In the third T20, West Indies bashed their way up to 224. Rovman Powell notching a ton, absolutely devoured George Garden, Tymal Mills and Liam Livingstone. England, they lost that one by about 20 runs, or it might have been exactly 20 runs. They gave it a go, but not quite enough. In the fourth, the three Lions fought back with a 34-run win. Moeen Ali, the captain, the standing captain for Morgan, or potentially future captain, we'll discuss that later, doing the business, getting 60-odd pretty quickly. West Indies batting never really threatened the score. They fell behind too soon, and kind of didn't lose wickets quickly enough to get Kyron Pollard in. Might have been able to get them out.
Or maybe Romario Shepherd or Akil Hussain.
Yeah. So they just, it wasn't a great game, I didn't think. And then in the decider, England were bowled out batting second for 162, 17 runs short of the West Indies total, which looked like, in comparison to the previous two matches, that it was a fairly gettable 179. Jason Holder, he was the man on that occasion, picking up the final 4 wickets in 4 balls for the Quattro, I think we called it when Curtis Campher pulled it off at the T20 World Cup, the Quattro. It could be the Quack Trick, couldn't it? Or
Quack Trick, yeah.
Yeah, people in Australia, they call it the double hat trick.
It's just not, is it? It's not a double hat trick.
Yeah.
That would be 6.
I don't know if we want to go down that route, we can. But yeah, it's 2 hat tricks is 6, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's but their argument, Max, just, for any Australians listening, I do want to acknowledge where you're coming from here and explain why you're wrong. They say it's 2 hat tricks. 1, 2, 3 is hat trick 1. And then 2, 3, 4 is hat trick 2. But that isn't.
So what's 5 then?
Would be triple hat trick.
Well, no, it'd be quadruple.
The Quattro. No, that's the Quadro. Quad trick. Anyway, let's not get bogged down in that. Max, which of those 3 games did you enjoy most and why? Did you have a favourite?
Did I have a favourite? I mean, to be honest, I think probably the first one, because it had that sort of raw, like you say, the raw physicality and the most runs. And let's be honest, that's what you want from T20, isn't it? That's what we're all here for. We're not here for a close contest between bat and ball. We're here to see the ball disappear.
And we did. We absolutely did. We did see that. Rovman Powell, he sort of came from nowhere a little bit in that one. He was not a player I was particularly familiar with. I think he's had like some okay CPLs in the past. What is he, 26, 27-year-old? Comes in, does that. He looks the business, Max. It looks like the West Indies might be finding, we saw Shepherd and Hussain in was it the first match of the series? Or the second match of the series, the one where they hit lots of sixes. Rovman Shepherd looks pretty decent. Maybe there's some green shoots of recovery for the West Indies there.
Yeah, well, they need some, don't they, after their World Cup performance? But I think, there's not really much more to say on that than things are looking a bit more promising than they they were. We saw. I think one of the highlights probably of the World Cup for me was Akil Hussain, because he looked like a decent player, and obviously it was spin friendly, but that was. I think he was probably one of the lighter points, and he's continued looking good, and on top of that, Romario Shepherd with his exploits, Rovman Powell with his century. I mean, Rovman Powell, just looking, he played like 36 T20 internationals, which is actually quite a lot.
Can you believe going back? Yeah, it is quite a few actually. Can you believe going back to the T20 World Cup, they didn't pick Holder in their original squad?
I mean, that was possibly the first thing we said, wasn't it? We were looking at their squad, and Jason Holder wasn't in it, and you're just like, what are you doing? And Ravi Rampaul is in the squad. I mean, it was some of it was of their own doing. Let's be honest, wasn't it? That World Cup. So nice to see them maybe turn to some of the some of the slightly more logical contingent that you might expect, dotted with some sort of performances that maybe you weren't expecting to see. But I mean, you mentioned Jason Holder and his 4 for 4. He's transformed, hasn't he?
He has become a seriously useful T20 player. I want to do a little winners and losers thing in a moment, but there are a couple of other points England-wise that I think we should discuss first. Eoin Morgan, he misses the final 4 matches of the series. Do you think England missed him? And there've been a few more articles in the last week or so saying time to go, Eoin. Where are you on the Eoin go-ometer?
I don't think it would be a disaster for England if he went. I think he's done his job, hasn't he? He's changed England white ball cricket for the better. We won the World Cup. And maybe now it's time to hand it over to someone who might score some runs at number 6 rather than bog things down.
It is a bit of a weakness, isn't it? Let's be honest.
And anyone can read a sign that Nathan Lehman holds up from a balcony. So you don't need Eoin Morgan specifically to do that. So
where are we saying here? If the Eoin go-ometer starts at 0, that's Eoin don't go.
Yeah.
50 is like, I'm on the fence. You're beyond 50. You're heading towards the red zone.
Yeah, I'd say like 7.
It's a linear, not logarithmic scale here.
Right. Okay. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah. But I'm probably about a 7 out of 10 on the time to go.
So yeah, you are
time to go in.
If you saw him in the street, you probably wouldn't be like, "Fuck off, get out of our club."
No. No.
You would.
I'm not hashtagging Morgan out just yet.
Okay, cool. I wonder if that'll ever happen. You know, it didn't at the Ashes. Silverwood out never became
never trended.
A hashtag. Yeah. But yeah, maybe we'll see Morgan out at some point soon. It would be a little bit of a sad end to the career. With white ball cricket, it's you don't get. So if you play test matches, you can sort of call it a day at the end of any test match.
Yeah, you basically get a testimonial, don't you?
Yeah,
like,
it feels like a crescendo.
Find one that's going to go well.
Yeah, but for white ball cricket, if he did just bow out after the home series against Sri Lanka or whoever it is they're playing this year, it wouldn't quite have the
T20 World Cup.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to the emotional release. Yeah, so I think maybe
that's the natural ending point, isn't it? Yeah.
Could be a problem for England, though. I do agree with that. The other big problem for England, death bowling. And this sort of goes hand in hand with the winners and losers thing that I wanted to talk about. Here are my list of big losers from this series on both sides. We can do that, and and then maybe do winners in a minute. But we can cover death bowling all in one. Be very efficient here. Chris Jordan, Tyrone Mills, George Garton, and Mahmood. I've got as the 4 players on both sides who I think have left this series with negative
reduced stock. Yes.
Yeah. They are now in the sell category of the cricket index.
Yeah. The sentiment is bearish. It was a big opportunity for probably both George Garton and Saqib Mahmood to make a statement. Given obviously we know that Tyrone Mills has some injury problems, so there's an option for Sakibamou to come in and be sort of that backup pacer, and like people were even calling for him to be playing in the Test matches at the back end of the Ashes.
I think that's partly because people didn't know who he was, or like just conflated him with somebody else, because he doesn't actually bowl like 95 miles an hour or something. He's a bit quicker than most of the other options, but he's not actually a fast bowler, I wouldn't say.
No, certainly not to be the replacement for the fast bowling, Mark Wood or Jofra Archer that I think people were anticipating. George Garton is, he's young, isn't he? He's very young, so there's plenty of time for him. But it's not been, he's only like early 20s, isn't he?
Okay, 24. Yeah, 24. Yeah. I'll give you very young on that. 25 this year, so yeah. No,
it makes me feel old. He's a left armer. He can bat. He's a good fielder. He's the kind of person that England will be looking for in to make a big part of this T20 side. But he's not taken his chance at all. So that's that'll be a disappointment for him. But
I wonder with this, he's got a very good record in the Blast and in other franchise tournaments. Or a decent record in other franchise tournaments. He's particularly effective in the Blast. I wonder with this and England in general on this, and actually, more broadly across all of the cricket that the England management team oversee, I wonder whether they are a bit quick to try and make people do the thing the way that they think it should be done. So bowl your death overs like this, bowl like this in at the beginning of the match, bat like this when we go to Australia, and I wonder, and I was sort of, I haven't, I'll be honest, I haven't seen enough George Garton. I mean, what I saw, he looked like a left arm Tom Curran, probably isn't good enough to play for England, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in county cricket, he bowls differently to how he did in the West Indies in that one match. Maybe that one match is just, maybe he had a hangover. Maybe he went out on the run punches. I mean, that would be a problem in and of itself. maybe he had jet lag. That's the more safe for work thing. Maybe something was just not right with the rhythm. The point I'm getting at, Max, I think, is do England sometimes try and make players into things that they are not, specifically here addressing the death bowling point, where everyone sort of tries to do the same thing, which is bang it in a bit back of a length, occasionally take the pace off. Maybe people need to find their own way a bit more.
Yeah, but you'd think that they would do that. If what they've been asked to do isn't quite working, you think maybe they'd go back to what's got them there in the first place. So I don't know if I necessarily by that. I mean, if you're picked for England and you're told to do something a certain way and it's obviously not working, then I would expect you to try and do something a different way, especially if you're if you've got the experience of doing it a different way that works. So I don't know so much about that, but maybe for a younger player it'd be impressive.
What you're saying is they're just bad.
Well, I don't know if it's that, whether it's using people in the wrong way, not sort of practicing it enough. I mean, it was really interesting to see what Harry Gurney said, and that he thought Eoin Morgan has neglected death bowling the whole time he's been captain of the England side.
I get that. I do get that sense a little bit. Yeah. I get that sense a little bit. They never get any better at it. I think the bowling in general in England white ball cricket has been slightly I
think it's been
a little bit formulaic.
I think it's been covered up slightly by how good Adil Rashid is.
Well, possibly that too. Yeah, he's a winner, isn't he? If we're going to pick a winners list, he's a winner. I am not. I think there's definitely something wrong with how England handle the bowling unit, and I think particularly the death bowling unit there. And I'm not. It's a little bit like the Test batting, isn't it? I don't see anyone that seems to get better at the job the more they play for England. Tyrone Mills came in at the World Cup, looked really, really good, and now he's going for 50, being hit down the park by the West Indies B team. Yeah, it's Reece Topley. He started well, and he's going to go down a cliff. Is what I project. Anyway, any final thoughts on that? Because I have some winners down here as well from the series.
No, I think that covers it.
Okay, 2 winners: Johnny Bairstow, Joss Buttler. I think, yeah, I think Jofra Archer could probably be added to that list. Adil Rashid, who actually did play, big winner for England, and then I think there are a couple of West Indians that will come out of this series with credit in the bank, maybe some IPL aspirations. Now, Romario Shepherd, Rovman Powell are the 2 that I think in particular I was impressed with. Would you add anyone to that or disagree with that?
I'd probably. You'd have to add Jason Holder, wouldn't you? Man of the series. I mean, we know he's a good player, but to do it in the in T20, which hasn't necessarily been what he's known for, certainly up there. But yeah, I think I'd agree with you on those, and ultimately, Karen Pollard as well was captaining a winning team and against England at home. That's always good.
Well, yeah, that is true. I mean, there's been rumblings, murmurings of discontent with how he captains. He never looks like he's really enjoying cricket. I think Pollard, but and I think if you're going to captain a team in that way, you sort of have to be successful. If you're going to be Steve Waugh or Ricky Ponting,
Jose Mourinho,
you have to be winning. Otherwise, it gets a little bit sticky. Yeah, because the players aren't enjoying it and they're losing. If you're not enjoying it so much but you're winning all the time, covers it up. It's a pretty big series win, I think, from West Indies' point of view. I mean, it's not full strength England. Bairstow and Buttler aren't there. You'd think they'd maybe made a difference in one of the matches. The bowling isn't too far away, and they've scored runs pretty consistently against that England bowling attack. And I think they've answered some of the questions that they'd left themselves after the T20 World Cup. Max are off to India for some World Cup Super League or whatever it's called, ODI Super League matches. Do you think they'll do all right in the subcontinent?
There's still a question, isn't there, about how they'll handle. I think particularly with the ball, if it's pitches that are a bit slower and more conducive to turn, then that could be a struggle. But I think they can go with a lot more optimism than perhaps they would have done 3 months ago. So it will be really interesting to see, because I mean, India are in a bit of a moment themselves, aren't they, on the one-day team with the Kohli antics and not necessarily picking the right players. So it will be an interesting one for both of them, I think.
Yeah, there is an element as well. This is when ODI cricket actually starts to get a little bit interesting, because we are a year and a half. I can't remember exactly the time frame away from the next World Cup. I can't remember whether it's the beginning of the year or not. It's 2023.
Yeah.
So it's between a year and 23 months. But this is the point at which teams do start to actually play their best 11s and try and answer the questions and you start to see things shaking out, and the intensity levels go up a little bit because people are playing for places. They're not just like an endless tryout treadmill. So I think there'll be some good matches coming up this year. It starts to be a bit more relevant. The first 2 years after a World Cup, ODI cricket is pretty pants.
It's Royal London One Day Cup style. Yeah.
But now I'm looking forward to some of these matches. And you talk about India. If they don't start sorting that ship out, then it could be a bit of an embarrassing one for them in 2023.
Yeah,
I'm sure they will though. Max, we have a little bit of cricket news. Should we take a break and then come back with the cricket news segment?
Sounds good.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.